The Women's Business Center of Richmond would like you to join us for our weekly Winning with Wow radio broadcast, hosted by yours truly, Dr. Danni, on ESPN Richmond 106.1 FM. Each segment features a woman boss who shares aspects of her entrepreneurial journey designed to enlighten, uplift, and inspire. If you have business ownership aspirations, let us help. We can be reached at the WBC Richmond on our socials or thewbcrichmond.org, or you can call us at 804-525-9499. Wake up, Richmond. This is Dr. Danni on behalf of the Women's Business Center of Richmond and our media broadcast at ESPN Richmond 106.6. 106.1. Let me get myself straight. 106.1 FM. This is the Winning with Wow radio broadcast. And I am here today with Big Mike.
Don't start.
But we are excited today because this is a segment that we have affectionately titled Ask Dr. Danni. And so, Mike, we are going to deal with some issues that have come to our attention. And I really want you to kind of paint some scenarios, right?
There's some scuttlebutt in the street.
Scuttlebutt, that we're going to call it that. But the reality is that from time to time, we want to grow our business, especially if we're small and minority businesses. We're looking for opportunities to engage with larger entities.
Yes.
But some of the challenges that we run into is that sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
And it's costly to learn what we don't know, and there's a price to that.
There, most definitely. And so the issue today that we're going to talk about is a very sensitive one. It has to do with customer service, managing expectations, and exceeding, the quality requirements, because that's what helps small businesses grow into larger businesses. You have to be better oftentimes than some of your other entities that are out there, because the expectation is that, they may not deliver, their quality might be an issue, or dealing with them is a problem. So Mike, I had someone come in my office yesterday and they said, we're looking to diversify our supply chain, but when we have minority and women-owned and small businesses bid and they win, sometimes they show up late.
Okay, alrighty, Dr. Danni. We're talking about that. Small businesses who want to scale up are in the yes business.
Yeah.
The yes business. And we may also be in over-promising business.
Okay.
Which sometimes we may be in the under-delivering business because we might have stepped out further than we're ready for. We've had this conversation before.
Yes.
Where you say, okay, you can't just keep the same price and keep adding on to get the job.
That's right.
That's the yes business.
That's right. Well, the point is well taken. And so we were going to say that one of the fundamental tenets that you need to grab a hold to as a small business trying to scale is that you need to know what you can do and know what you can't do. Yes is an encouraging thing. I've been with salespeople who always say yes. Then we go in and we have to deliver. We're like, we can't do that.
Always say yes.
Yes.
And you know what happens, especially in IT companies? The people say, can you guys do this? Yes. Can you do it in 3 weeks? Sales guy says, yes. He comes back to the engineers like you and says, we're going to do this, and this is the price. And you look up and say, you're that look of horror. And now the look of horror takes it to another level when I said we were going to have it done in 3 weeks.
Correct.
There's a disconnect there because the salespeople are in the yes business, what we need. And now all of a sudden, we didn't manage those expectations at all.
Because oftentimes they get rewarded based on the win.
For sure.
And yes, we'll get you a win.
Yes, it does.
But it doesn't get you repeat business when you underdeliver. And so, I've actually talked to my program director and I've said, we've got to maybe think about a cohort that focuses on managing expectations. So when we say yes, we've got to put some additional things behind it. We can accomplish this, this, and this at this price in this time. So when the client starts to creep, you get scope creep and they adding on things, you can go back to say, but this is what we agreed to do in this time for this price. And if we do these other things, I'm going to have to shift and provide you a different projection on how we're going to be able to achieve that. But I just say this is so important manage the expectations, because repeat business comes from satisfied clients. You don't get repeat business. You might get that one-time
you're gonna
deal,
get the one time. You're gonna get the one
but you're
off.
out.
Yes.
And guess what they're going to do? They are going to have a conversation with other people, and now your name is mud. And so, first tenet, you've got to manage expectations, know what you can do and what you can't do, and sensitize the client to what it's going to take to achieve what they desire. The second tenet I want to hit real quick, Mike, before you jump in there, I want to hit real quick is, if things are going wrong, don't wait till the date that the job's supposed to be completed to let the client know that we had some snafus. I know you intend to get it corrected.
Remember, we talked about that sales guy who gets compensated on yeses. He may not be the best person, or she may not be the best person to handle conflict, because they're in the yes business. Now, when the expectations start to come up a little short,
then they said,
what are you sending me for? I was there to get the business. All right. So you talked about scope creep.
Yeah.
Really quickly, let people know about scope creep, because then I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay. So scope creep is, you asked us to come in and facilitate the onboarding. We're an HR company.
Okay.
We're facilitating the onboarding of new employees.
Yes.
Okay. And so that means that we bring them in, we train them according to your procedure, we give them the employee manual, they sign off and say they've been trained. But now you want me to administer some additional tests. Now we want some, capabilities analysis, and then you want me to report on those. But the agreement that we had was that we were going to just do these, and that's what I quote you for. But now you want me to do some additional reporting and refreshers, and that wasn't in our original plan. And I'm reluctant to come back to you and say, but it's going to take additional resources to get that done.
In other words, more money.
More money.
Because it's more,
maybe more problems.
That's right. Okay. So now that's scope creep on the customer side.
Yes.
Because the customer wants more, and now they're trying to see whether you will give them. We agreed upon A through C. Now they want to throw in D, E, F, and G for the same amount of money.
Okay.
Okay. So now that's customer scope creep.
Yes.
The other one is the business. Now it's my business. Now all of a sudden, I own my business. I do A, B, and C. Dr. Danni comes along and says, I know you guys do A, B, and C, but would you do D, E, F, and G? I'll pay you for it. I will pay you for it.
Okay.
Now that's good. No, I say, because I need money because I'm a small business.
Right. Well, this is the other piece of it. Give you an example of something that one of the descriptors that we had. There's a gentleman, and his son is in the business of, putting in speaker systems, and tinting windows and doing all that good stuff. Well, I'm sorry, he does tinting windows. So people figure you do stuff in a car, you do other things. So can you also swap out this sound system? I want better speakers. And he says, okay, I can figure that out. Yes, I'll do it. And then they realize they can't do it. And then they need to bring in somebody who knows what they're doing. Well, that person is expecting to be paid by the business owner that brought them in to do something that they said they could do, but they can't. And oh, by the way, while we're working on things, he's on this side doing this, and she's over here tinting windows, and they burned the leather in somebody's car. So now you have complicated the situation. The creep is on one side. They asked us to do more, but we said we could do something that's outside of our wheelhouse. And we brought somebody in to do it that's costing us more. So our margin is shrinking
by the minute.
And it would have been better. And this is a lesson to small businesses who, again, you might be in the yes business because you're trying to lock it down, but you've got to be in the loyalty business. And that means you've got to deliver on what is being asked of you. And you need to do it very well. You have to do that because that's where repeat business comes. It is better to have you deliver before schedule and under cost, and you get that next, and also you get the referral that comes to the next person. They're a great businessman. So I have a great story about customer service. I have a good friend who owns a janitorial service. I would shout him out, but this story might, don't want to shout him out, but I will tell you, he is excellent. His customers love him, absolutely love the quality of work. He is never late. He always completes the job and exceeds expectation, but he pays his people too little. But he pays his people little because he's always the cost leader in his space, because he feels like I've got to do that because there are bigger companies out there that would jump in. If I'm at their price, then new clients might not consider me. But if you pay your people better, you won't have to work so hard, because he has to go and check all of his facilities when those workers are doing it and make sure it's to his standard, because he can't maintain a cohesive workforce because they're not paid appropriately, and they get what they get and then they leave and you got to bring somebody else in. So he is working harder, in my opinion. Just a smidgen price increase could perhaps allow him to pay a little bit better, to retain his talent and maintain the consistency of quality of service.
One of the things we always see is if you're relying on price, there's always some idiot who's going to go low. I don't care how low you go, there is somebody who will go lower. So now he's winning jobs. You're getting jobs, but what you don't notice is he has new employees that he constantly has to train,
which is a cost.
And
so that's why when we think about new cohorts that we are looking at building up inside of the Women's Business Center of Richmond, we really are looking for ways that we can actually help these businesses grow. Because again, you don't want to be in a scenario, and I want to be real frank right now. Sometimes when we're a woman-owned business or a minority-owned business, people lower their expectations.
Yes.
And if we meet their expectations as opposed to exceed them, then we're always marginalized. They will give you the crumb contracts, the ones that's on the side, but you don't want that. You want to be able to compete and win large-scale things to deliver on your core competency. And in order to do that, you just got to do some things well. Be excellent at the things you advertise, and learn this 2-letter word: no. Or make it a phrase: no, but I can introduce you to someone who can. But do not sign up for something that's outside of your wheelhouse that you're going to be learning on this customer.
One of the things, so shout out to Mark Smith over at Midas. He always says no is not a 4-letter word. It's not. And he told me no because I knocked on his door for a very long time. The answer is no, until all of a sudden there was a time the door opened. So what you're saying is that we get enticed by the yes, because we need revenue coming in.
Correct.
We definitely need revenue. I got people I got to pay, and we are in the business of staying in business and closing deals. But what you're saying is, and you've had this conversation with me, you got to tidy up the back office stuff, because if you're leaky back there, the deals coming in up front, like you said, you're signing up businesses. You're the low cost leader. That's fine. We get that part, but you have to continually keep training new people because you're not paying the people enough to stay around and be loyal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. And what you've got to understand is what business are you in? Are you in a low touch, high volume business? Right? Low touch is usually low contract costs. But if it's, high volume, you got to keep those plates spinning on the, keep the ball spinning. Sometimes you have high touch, low volume. You got clients who expect to know at every milestone how things are going. You have to be proactive. Don't wait for them to come to you and say, hey, I know that you were going to make this suit for me. You were tailoring a suit for me, but you took measurements and I ain't heard from you since whenever. You have to anticipate when it has to do with clients or companies that are high touch. Anticipate what they're going to ask you and put them on a cadence where you provide an update.
Let me ask you this. One of the great parts about being on the radio is I can talk to experts in the same industry, can they be high touch? Can there be two opposite business entities operating opposite each other? You understand what I'm saying? So one is very high touch and they stay engaged. The other one operates in a different fashion. Is that possible?
So are you saying, like, if I'm a business owner, I can have two lines of business where some of these things are high touch and some of them are low touch?
No, the same, you're two separate operators.
Correct.
One is high touch and the other
I'll
one.
give you an example. Again, I'll use the example of tailoring and sewing and designing and clothing and things like that. So if I'm a vendor and I'm a retailer and I'm doing, high volume activity of clothing, something people wear every day, versus someone who is dressing people to go to events.
Okay.
The dressing of the people going to events, that's high touch. That customized, it better fit, it gotta work, it's gotta be on time. But if I'm just doing t-shirt and jeans, that's kind of like low touch, high volume. People come in, they service themselves, they meander around, but you don't have to talk to them that much because what you have is pretty much standard. So when you're on a commodity side, both of you are in the clothing space. Both of you are dealing with people. And guess what? You have clients who might need both of those things. But you've got to decide, which one am I? Because if you give people, I call it nipple confusion. If you give them confusion and they're expecting you to have that customized feel that you're going to listen to where I'm going, what I look good in, you're going to give me a consultation with what I buy. But then, but that's not there. You just got stuff up and I got to look around. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I need an event for an activity and you don't have enough resources in the store to cater to me. That's going to be a problem. Versus you own me constantly saying, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? And hey, I'm just looking through the jeans. I don't need all this. So yeah, you can be in the same space or industry, similar businesses, but your business model may be different based on the need that you meet. Even though both of you share customers, the same customers are coming to you for the same thing, but they have needs that are different based on the particular.
So one line is high touch and the other one, you're operating them both.
Yes.
Can you have a successful force going back and forth? Do people know as employees how to go back and forth between those? Or does management set the culture for that?
Well, that's why we're having this conversation today. So I've had a couple of conversations in this week where people are really wanting to do business with women businesses, really want to do business with minority businesses, and they've had some experiences that make them say, they ain't ready for prime time. So oftentimes we don't have that.
Okay.
Small businesses are usually small based on the amount of revenue they derive or number of employees they have. And if you have a high touch business and you don't have enough employees or you don't retain them with their expertise and tacit knowledge, customers feel a little bit iffy when every time you're give you another example. We had individuals who would come to our house once a month and spray, for bugs outside and inside if we wanted them or whatever. And it got to a point, we had one guy for 2 years, loved him. I didn't even think about the money coming out of my account. But then it got to a period where every month it was a new guy. We have fired them. Shout out to Aaron.
Ayo.
Yep, that's who we are looking to bring in because I know he understands customer service. He puts customer service first. But these other individuals had it and then they lost it.
Let me ask you, so how do you have it and lose it? And if you see as a leader, how do you see it going off the rails that you need to nudge it back?
I honestly think that there are too many people who are making guidelines and recommendations that don't touch the customer. So in a small business, you have got to listen to, you've got to talk to, you've got to know your customer. Even if it's just a periodic, maybe you're not managing the account, but you give a call and say, hey, I know that you've been a valued client for X number of period of time. We'd like to know how's your service been. If they had called that and I told them, you know what, this is our home. We had one person for 2 years, and now we're seeing a different person we don't feel comfortable having somebody change up on us all the time. It suggests to me that you got a problem in your service delivery, and maybe we just don't have it. So I just don't think that that's a good model for us to go with. So touch your customers, talk to your customers, understand why they chose you. If you don't understand that, you may be at risk of losing clients that you want to retain. You want to retain repeat clients because it's not just them. They are the individuals who refer you to other people. And so if you look at transactionally, yeah, I got this contract, I got that contract, I got that one, but they're one time, one and done, then you've got a customer service issue. And there are some fundamental things that you can do well. First of all, I almost said a bad word.
What they do?
Answer your phone.
One of the things that people talk about is having access to people with someone answering the phone. That is the first step to a win.
Yes, without a doubt. Answer the phone. When people have to leave messages, they're on to the next. So that's a good investment. If you're a small business and you're running a campaign for people to reach out for your services, but you're also the receptionist, pay for the service to have someone answer your phone with a human voice. There's value in that. It's simple. You've got to be present. If you tell people email you, check your email.
So these are things that the Women's Business Resource Center helps folks with.
Yes, and we have something coming up after this commercial break.
Here we go.
And I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk more about that.
Mike Evans here with On the Mic with Mike, the best business radio program around. I'm here with my good friend, Dr. Danni of the world famous Women's Business Resource Center. We hear you guys have something exciting coming up.
Yes, on November the 4th, the Women's Business Center is hosting our annual Women on Wealth Summit. You have to meet us at the summit.
You got to be there.
Got to be there.
You guys pull out some heavy hitters.
Well, yes, because we look holistically at the idea of wealth. That's womanliness, entrepreneurship, affiliation, leadership, tenacity, and health. And we have 6 phenomenal facilitators for the Black Table Talks that we are going to cover as it relates to those topics. You want me to name a few?
Go ahead, name them.
So we have Rhonda Young, who's on the health side of the house, life, lovers, balance. If you're not familiar with it, you might want to check it out from your nutritional health standpoint. When we think about tenacity, we have Miss Sarah Choi.
Sarah Choi, shout out to Sarah.
Yes, shout out to Sarah. She's made some transitions recently, but she has an entrepreneur's heart and she is a phenomenal marketer. So you really have to come and listen.
She was at your event before, wasn't she?
She was at the annual conference in April.
Yes.
And she's dealing with tenacity because, sometimes you get knocked down, but you got to get back up. And the idea around all of these table talks is that we want to define ourselves for ourselves. That's what heritage and legacy is about. You have to define yourself in the words of Audre Lorde, or in the framework of it, define yourself for yourself. So we want a declarative statement on each one of these dimensions of wealth. When we talk about leadership, Shara, our program director, shout out to Shara Gibson. She's going to lead the talk around leadership. We need to be able to say, this is what we women say about leadership in the context of wealth. And this is what we want to speak to those who haven't yet identified where you fall on the continuum of wealth. Are you half empty? Are you half full? Are you on, or maybe you haven't even making a decision between the red or the blue pill. You haven't woken up to it yet. But that's what we're going to be doing in the context of understanding holistically what wealth means to women. When we think about womanliness, I think the speaker for that is going to be Anitra Bird. But anyway, when you think about womanliness, we don't have to be as aggressive as our male counterparts. We don't have to be loud. We can be soft-spoken. We don't have to wear black, brown, and blue all the time. We can be our authentic self in who we have been created to be as a woman and still be the boss. And so we really want to unlock a lot of things by taking advantage of the intellectual capital in the room. Many of us go to conferences. We go and we sit to brilliant people on panels and keynotes and things of that nature. But there's just as much brilliance in the seats. And so we're going to leverage those individuals who attend the Women on Wealth Summit, and we're going to take what we get from that to fuel the conference next April.
And that is November the
4th on the campus of Virginia Union University. Anyone who has an interest can go to thewbcrichmond.org or on our socials at thewbcrichmond. But back to the subject at hand.
Here we go.
We said our first tenet is you got to know what you know and know what you don't know. You've got to manage expectations. You've got to be willing to say no even
Mm.
if it's no with a sentence that says, but I know someone who can.
Doc, I need this. I gotta say no. I gotta make payroll. Yeah, I got it.
But that's why you go to things like the Women on Wealth Summit. That's why you
Exactly.
go to conferences. Develop a network of people that can augment your service providing, so that when your clients ask you to do something that is outside of your wheelhouse, you have a colleague who's willing to come in. Now, your relationship with that colleague might give you 10% of what they charge, but that's called building your network, just the same way that a company does. A company has different business lines of business, but if they're supporting a client that needs both lines of those businesses, the general managers get together and they come up with one solution. I propose that small and medium-sized businesses, women and minority businesses, figure out how to do co-opetition.
Oh,
Yes.
co-opetition,
Yes.
not competition.
Not competition.
Yeah, so what you're saying is there is enough around there for everyone.
No doubt. There is. And so this has been an awesome time with asking Dr. Danni, but also having our trusted Mike King of the Mike King Biz Network right along with us to help people understand. You have got to answer the phone. You've got to return emails. You've got to be available and listen to your customers. That is the number one key ingredient to growing your business. It just won't happen any other way. You've got to do those things to grow and scale your business.
Co-opetition.
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 Yes. Co-opetition.
That is something right there.
That is.
There's power in numbers.
Power in numbers. Power in numbers. And guess what? So you stop competing after the same piece of pie by saying yes to things you don't do. And you actually expand the pie. So now we all grow together. This has been an awesome time at ESPN Richmond's 106.1. I am your host, Dr. Danni, for the Winning with Wow radio broadcast for the Women's Business Center of Richmond. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. for the Morning Time Drive. Goodbye.
Dr. Danni.